I think people still think funerals are very traditional. People sometimes still think, do we have to have it in a church? They've got no connection to a church and they still think it has to happen that way. It might be a funeral of 5 people in our chapel and they bring in their favourite dish of mum's, they sit around and have a cup of tea and they all tell stories. And that's a beautiful service. 35 years of experience and knowing families after the funeral and seeing them, you know what benefit they get from coming together, even if it's a private, intimate family gathering. But to have nothing, I do worry.
I think that people watching this, they see 2 funeral directors talking and they think, oh, these guys just want to protect their own interests. And it can't be any further from the truth. We're not saying we're against unattended direct cremation. What we're saying is have some connection with your family. That is what allows you to move forward with your grief. Kelly, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. So you are the Australian Funeral Directors Association President, and we're here at your conference in Vietnam. Thank you for your time, first of all, and allowing me to speak to you during your busy schedule. How are you finding the weekend?
It's been great so far, and I think bringing everyone to Vietnam has been just such a great experience because we're always learning, and I think that having that opportunity to bring people together, sometimes to get out of your business when you're so busy and just spend some time, on your business, I think is really valuable, as well as, that networking and support that you get when you're, getting together. So it's been great so far.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so yourself then, you're in this leadership role, which you've done for 2 years now. And from seeing how the members are sort of reacting to you, you've done a fantastic job. So going back to your background then, what is your background in the funeral profession? How did you get involved? And how did you get into this position of president of the AFDA?
Yep. I'm a 4th generation funeral director. So our family business, which is about an hour north of Melbourne in Australia, was started by my great-grandfather. So coming through, my grandparents and then my father was in the business, and I was always interested in what Dad did. I probably didn't understand what it was, but I could see what he meant in the community. Even when we were going out and Dad would be like, everyone knew him, and I thought, well, he must do something really important. Yeah. But even then when I first was, 16 to 18 thinking, oh, what is that about? It wasn't really for women. You didn't see women in that role. It would just sort of, it was just starting, I suppose. And I remember sort of asking my grandfather about it, and he said, oh, it's really hard. And I think he was thinking more of the physicality of the job rather than the emotional side of the job. But so I went off to university. I thought I'll do nursing, which is what our females in our family seem to do. And then I remember Dad ringing me one day when I was at university. He said, I need someone now. You said you were interested. Would you come and work for me? And I jumped at the chance. I finished uni that day and started work with him on the Monday, I think. And so that's 35 years ago.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, but Dad was always, even though we're a small family business, Dad was always part of the AFDA. He really believed in giving back to the industry. So I've seen him do these roles over his life and his career. And I think even when I first started, I thought, why is it so much time out of our business? I just don't get it. But of course, he'd come back to our business learning as well. So he's giving, but he's getting a lot out of it. So he really encouraged me to be involved at AFDA. And it starts in Australia, you start with your division. So in Victoria, we have our own division, and each state and territory has their own division. So you start sort of small, and that the divisional works, it's that coalface, stuff that you work on, that coalface advocacy with births, deaths and marriages regulation, that sort of thing. So started there, he really encouraged that, and then you can progress to the National Council if you're willing and able, and get asked to do that. And so he was very encouraging. So that helped.
So that role model was there for you, and you saw the benefits of getting involved at national level, even though it's a demand on us.
Yes,
it's also so helpful to your businesses, and actually I think as well for self-development. You grow as a person in these roles. You mentioned your father as well, how he was perceived and treated in the community because of the role he has and had. For yourself, what has been rewarding for you in the role of a funeral director in your community? What do you find rewarding for yourself?
I love the fact that we've always got a connection. We're a small community where we deal with lots of little towns around our area, but you've got a connection to someone. Even if it's not directly, you might know their neighbour, or you'll know someone, and so you have a connection to them. And you see them again. So you get to sort of follow up. So seeing what a difference it makes when you have a funeral and bring people together, and just even seeing the day itself and seeing that comfort and support families are getting, that importance of gathering and that physical support as well as the emotional support. And then being able to follow up with them. Like you might see them in the supermarket the next day and go, how did everything finish yesterday, or in a few weeks? And I think being able to sort of just follow through and just connect with people and just seeing the difference it makes in your own community.
It's interesting because following up isn't like a sit-down session or a meeting. It's like you say, when you're buying your milk. And that's what I think I have concerns about in societies. It's nice to hear it's still there in your community, that it's continuous. And my dad told me when I was very young, like, our jobs aren't jobs really. It's a position and it's a role and it's a responsibility. It never stops really, does it?
No.
You can't suddenly stop when you go shopping.
No, you're not. And you're very aware that, people see you in a certain way. So I've always been, even growing up, it was a bit like, don't be the wild one at the party or the pub on Friday night, because that person, you could be talking, be with someone, and the next day you could be arranging a funeral with them. So very conscious of that role in the community as well. But I think it's really special to be part of a community. And as you say, it's inadvertently helping people afterwards. That aftercare is not formal, but it's very much there. And you obviously do more with certain people that you run into a little bit more, but it's a real responsibility.
And that's responsibility. With that comes rewards, but also comes challenges. So what challenges have you faced during your time within the family funeral home prior to discussing your AFDA role?
I think because you do know so many people. And I don't know if I could do what I do just in an environment I don't know anyone.
Clinical processing.
I think that's the reward, but I think that's the hardest part, is organising funerals for people you know really well. I mean, I did the funeral for my dearest, oldest friend, who died when she was way too young. And that's, as much as that was a challenge, I thought, thank God I can do that. Thank God I can help in that way. And thank God she knew I'd be the one looking after her. It was horrendous. And, in a community like we do, and I'm not saying you don't necessarily have to know people to have these feelings, but, you're getting into the hearse and you're driving off when no one else can see you and you're bawling. Like, I've done that more times than I can count.
I did my best friend's, his younger brother died last year, and I remember the crematorium service finished, everyone had gone, and I just burst out crying. And the celebrant was there, who's a good friend of mine, Christine Jolly, who's been on this podcast as well. And we went for a walk because I was just in bits. And I think also it's that tension, it's you're carrying it all, you're feeling it all, and you want to help them as much as you can. And also it's pain. It's such pain. And you can make a difference. And I think that hopefully shows that we do make a difference in our communities. And it's nice to see how it happens across the Western world, which is great to learn from you as well. So the AFDA then, we mentioned it before briefly. How has that helped shape you in your funeral home, the things that you've learned, the leadership role that you've taken on? How has it contributed to your work back at home as well?
Immeasurably. And I think it's the mentoring that you get. And again, it's not necessarily formal, but it's relationships. And I had the privilege of having Dad, who's introduced me to all these people. So it must be difficult for people coming in and not knowing anyone and all that. But I'm very conscious of when new people come to our events to go, how are you, Dad? Just to make it that bit easier. But definitely having people guiding you through. And there's people I've rang over my years, if I felt like, or Dad wasn't available, there's people that I've connected with, and they're very close friends of Dad as well, and especially like Joe O'Day, who's Baron O'Day in Perth, and they're a big family company, but they've got those beautiful touch points, and all of our family have been over and spent time with him and seeing what they do and all those beautiful things. It's a big business, it's got that sort of boutique, small feel. So having those opportunities, I'd never do that if we weren't in a network, a professional network. Like, it's amazing. Yeah,
I think it is. It's the environments we find ourselves in. It's a healthy environment to grow. And for those who are watching this, again in Australia as well, the AFDA, could you just, what is the mission statement? What is it there for? Again, I understand it because I've been here, and the NAFD, who I've been still heavily involved in, always will be involved in. That it's the same purpose. But for your eyes, what do you see it as?
It was always, I think our byline is promoting professional standards. So, but now it's more about promoting the value of a funeral, and I think promoting the value of what a funeral director can do in that space. So in Australia, we're regulated as you are with cemeteries and crematoria and the health department and things, but the funeral industry itself is not regulated. So we self-regulate in the absence of regulation. So you don't have to be a member, it's not a compulsory thing, but our members, we're the largest funeral association in Australia. We've got members in every state and territory, and last year our members conducted over 100,000 funerals. So it's about 60% of the market.
Yeah.
But there are some funeral directors who wouldn't be able to be members of ours because our standards with our professional development, our PEV, premises, equipment and vehicles, they might not meet those standards. We're very much there to support people to get there. If they make an inquiry and go, oh, we're not quite there yet, our mortuary might not be at this standard, we can then go, okay, this is what you'd need to meet those standards. And then, we then are the voice, to government and to media, so we're often approached about those sorts of things. But it is supporting each other as members, but more importantly than you're supporting the families, we want everyone to have a positive experience when they are organising a funeral, not come back and go, they lacked compassion, they didn't care, their equipment or their premises was below standard.
Yeah, no, it's good. Again, it's leading the industry and it's helping those people who aren't part of the AFDA, it's even guiding them as well. So again, we have very similar in the UK. So that's a challenge then about regulation. What other challenges are you facing in the funeral profession in Australia? What else? What other areas are you seeing?
Well, anyone could build a website and call themselves a funeral director and have no premises, and that's a challenge because, then you hear some horrendous stories of families, not getting the care and the service they need. And then we're all tarred with the same brush. So, you want everyone to be at that level. Ideally, you want every family to have that, as I said, positive experience. So that worries me. I think that's why we, as an association, really want to start pushing for regulation, to have some overarching body, even if it meant to be a funeral director, you had to have these minimum standards, just with making sure your equipment's all up, your vehicles are beautiful. All those really basic things are not monitored by anyone.
Yeah. And also, are you seeing a shift in Australia like we are in the UK now? 20% of funerals in the UK are unattended direct cremation. Are you seeing a rise in that in
Absolutely,
Australia?
yeah. For some businesses, it might be up to 30% of their business is direct cremation. So, and we know, 35 years of experience and knowing families after the funeral and seeing them, what benefit they get from coming together, even if it's a private, intimate family gathering. But to have nothing, I do worry that, you can't push those feelings aside. They're going to be there and they'll just come up in another way. And sometimes it's not a healthy way, because you're not coping with it. So that worries me, that move to, it's too much of a fuss.
I think that people watching this, they see two funeral directors talking and they think, oh, these guys just want to protect their own interests. And it can't be any further from the truth, actually, because we're not saying we're against unattended direct cremation. No. What we're saying is have some contact, have some connection with your family. That is what allows you to move forward with your grief. And we only have these strong feelings on it because we see it.
Absolutely. And as you said, we're not trying to upsell a service because, we found in COVID and we're in Melbourne, so we had the strictest and I think the most lockdowns worldwide. So it was pretty hard. But when your family say, I can't believe we can't do it, or we're down to 10 people at one point, but that was better than nothing. And I think that showed the importance of a funeral when people couldn't have what they wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
The response was overwhelming and distressing. And I actually thought there's going to be additional layers of their grief that will be felt for years to come. Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for watching the video so far. I hope you're really enjoying it. Please click the thumbs up on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Their details are found in the video description just below. Thank you so much. The AFDA, where do you see the next 5 to 10 years of the association as it moves forward?
I think we really need to be more heavily involved in educating the community and being more public facing. So I loved your talk about what you're doing, you know, that base level when you can go to kids. I mean, imagine if kids understand the importance of that ritual and coming together and they could ask for it. I don't think there'd be any direct cremations because, you know, look at other cultures, you know, the Maori culture in New Zealand, you know, our Indigenous cultures. Children are involved from the very get-go, from, you know, that up to the time of death, right through that mourning period. They're all really involved. And why have we stopped our kids doing that? And I think, you know, we still get asked, should we bring children to funerals on? I always use the words of Dr. Alan Wolfeld, who said, if they're old enough to love, they're old enough to grieve. And I think we've stopped it because I think we're uncomfortable as adults. We don't want to have to deal with that. In actual fact, they help us on that journey. So I would love to see our association, and that's where we're going with that. Our members are saying we want to be more public facing. We want to stand out as AFDA members. We want to know the community can come to us for support and education, just like you've done in your community. Go and talk to schools, and I've done that too in ours, even with year 11s and 12s, so they're about 15, 16, have done a program in school just to say what's involved with a funeral, what does it look like? Because I think we need to change that narrative, and you talked about that as well. What is a funeral? People sometimes still think, do we have to have it in a church? They've got no connection to a church and they still think it has to happen that way. You know, oh no, there's other rituals that we can really bring to life, and what does that might, you know, look like for your family? And it might be a funeral of 5 people in our chapel and they bring in their, you know, their favourite dish of mums, and they sit around and have a cup of tea and they all tell stories. Yeah, it's perfect. And that's a beautiful service. It's perfect. And then back to the education for young people, which is obviously why I'm here, just to say it's been remarkable, the response I've had here. Quite overwhelming, actually. It doesn't surprise me. So I'm hopeful that we can continue those conversations between NAFD and the AFDA as we move forward as well. So I've spoken to your incoming president, Asha Dooley. Yes. And also the CEO of the ACCA. Yes, Ben. He's really, really excited. And Dale is also your CEO. Yes, he's excited as well. So yeah, hopefully we can push forward and make some more noise. I think I said in our national report, you think about the IP in our membership and in your membership, we know grieving families. We really know them. You know, that's years and years of, you know, built up experience. And I think we can, you know, do our bit, but I think, you know, reaching out, even saying, we know enough. We're not saying we're psychologists or counsellors necessarily, but we know what the difference ritual and coming together makes. And I think if we're have a bit more confidence to do that, so building that, I think, confidence in our members to go, okay, what can we do in your own community to start small? But I think working together would be amazing. And I think we're so aligned, our two countries. I think so. And I think I hate to see work repeated. So that if we work together, then it's even, the actual message is even louder as well. Absolutely. Also, we've talked about the last few days about work cultures, and it all ties into sort of shining a light on the work that we do, which we touched on. How do we do that more within our own funeral services to the rest of the team as well, from like an actual leadership roles we have within our own companies? What things can we do there to help influence the teams as well, do you think? I think it's a real challenge, and I think because of what we do and we're carers, our role is a caring role. Sometimes you get so focused on what you're doing, we're not great at looking at and making sure what are we doing to support them. And I think even in Australia we're getting more legislation around mental health in the workplace and that sort of thing. And I think, again, we probably did things informally, and now we need to really do things formally, you know, so we have things in place. I mean, even in our team, we're just starting to do a meditation session once a month, to all go out this, because we're a small team. But doing little things like that, really focusing on supporting the people who are supporting all these other people together. And Simon Pugh just talked about the fact that, you know, in your team, no one's better than anyone else in the team. You've just got a different role. And how he looked at it is, you know, when he goes in and, you know, leans into his staff, I go, that's a great example, because I love being able to go, the vacuum needs done, I'll get in and do that. You know, and when we're employing new people, we go, there's no one that's not going to help clean the bathroom or prepare a chapel. Like, everyone's involved in that. So I think it's good for the team to see we're all equal in that way. No one's more important than anyone else, and trying to support them as much as we can, and really understanding they do need support, even when they go, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
But just that regular checking in, and again, formally and informally, I think.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good, yeah. And that's how we build the correct team culture as well, isn't it? Yeah. Going back slightly to how we're perceived, the funeral profession, and I think that's now across the Western world. Do you think there are any misconceptions about what we do and like why we do it and how we do it? What do you think?
I think people still think funerals are very traditional. I think people still think it has to be this, and that's what they... And when people say, oh, when we're having a direct cremation because mum didn't want a fuss, sometimes that's from almost like residual trauma of making, things happen, years ago. They attended a funeral, it was awful, or so like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Or I think sometimes now with families that are broken, I mean, when families come into us, I always say, and you can see might be a bit of tension or something, I go, there's stuff going on in everyone's family, including our own.
Yeah.
But this is a safe place, and part of my role is to make sure everyone's heard, and we can make sure, because you've lost mum, all of you, but you've lost a different relationship with that one person. So you'll all need different things.
Yes.
And trying to sort of, make sure you're really listening to them and drawing out, and I don't think they understand that I think, did you talk about it the other day? You're incidental mediators in some ways. And I think people don't realise we support you through that. So if you haven't spoken to your sister in 12 years, you think, you know what, we're just not going to have a service because I can't deal with that. We get that. We understand it. We've seen it for years. And I think if they can see we're there to help you with that sort of thing as well. So everyone gets heard. No one's going to get left out.
Yeah, and also we don't judge. We're not here, are we, to judge? We're just totally impartial.
Totally impartial. And you can never take sides because there's always two truths.
Yes.
That you'll hear one story, but that doesn't mean that's actually correct. So it's just putting that aside.
It's an observation for myself, actually, I think that's why I'm so not interested in drama, because I hear probably so much of it. Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, some people, it's palpable, in a room when you're meeting with family. And, I had a funeral, we called it the Mexican standoff, I think it was, because we had two groups or factions of a family, and we went up at the end of the service. And we had 6 coffin bearers in place, and 6 people, you're not carrying the coffin, So
wow.
And my back's facing everyone else, and I just said, put the coffin down. We're just going to stay here if we can't decide on this really calmly. Because I said, it's not about any of you, it's about Reg.
It's good.
And it sort of just calmed it enough.
Yeah.
But, it can
hard to do that, though.
Hard to do that, though. Yeah, really hard to do that.
And with that, people who are interested or want to be part of the funeral profession, because what you've just done there, what you've said there, that's a big thing for anyone to do. What advice would you give someone who is interested in joining our profession?
I think we can always teach you the policies and procedures and everything else. You can't teach a person empathy. So to try it and be aware of what that really is, and be aware of self-care. And I think if you've got that capacity to really listen, not judge, and really be open-hearted, I think you'd be great. Like, I've had people from all different walks of life, and you think, I've always wanted to do it, and I've always been interested. And I think, don't worry about all the bits, and we'll teach you all of that. But if you've got that passion for caring, to help, and you can really make a difference. And we see it, and it is so rewarding when you have guided someone through. Just like Kat Tao talked about her beautiful experience when she lost her child, and she said that woman made a difference to our lives, and we'll never forget her. And I think, wow, how powerful.
It was beautiful talk. So what do you do then? Because obviously you're leading the teams, you're leading the association. How do you stay focused, and how do you stay motivated and also take care of yourself? What do you do for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was going to say next question, because I think we're probably not good at doing that ourselves, because we are responsible for teams. So you're responsible for your families, so it all goes to them, and then your teams, and then. But I think it's the professional association. It's having people to reach out and going to events. And yep, the business sessions are great. I always get something from them.
Yeah.
But I think it's the conversations you have over morning tea or you have dinner, and you can really. I had this really difficult funeral the other day because I don't necessarily want to go home and take that to my family either and burden that. But I could talk to. Sometimes I don't even have to go into the store and go. We had a service for a young boy who was killed in a car accident, and they go, "How are you going?" And you go, "Yeah, it's really tough." I don't even have to explain the whole story. They just know.
It's fascinating you say that. It's only just hit me now, actually. I was with one of your members last night, and they opened up to me about a very traumatic event in their life, and they haven't discussed it for some time. So I think you're correct that it's a safe environment, isn't it? Where you can sort of relax and sort of reset.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really interesting you should say that. It's just hit me with that as. So
I think this is the best thing I do for self-care, is being around these people. And I think, as you know, when you're a national president, you get to meet a lot of your members. Like we do divisional meetings, so I've done all this travelling around. And everyone said, "Oh, it must be exhausting." And I said, it's actually invigorating. Yeah. Like it invigorates your own practice. You sort of go back thinking, oh, I'm just surrounded by these most incredible people. Like no one knows how good these people are. They are amazing.
Yeah.
And that's invigorating. And I think that's the best self-care we can do. And I think Dad's probably never said it in those words, but I think that's why he's just celebrated 60 years as a funeral director this year. And he still does celebrancy. He loves it.
Yeah.
Loves it as much as he started with, because I think he's continually revitalised himself with the people around him.
That's interesting he's doing that now, celebrancy, because he's still connected with families, he's still serving. That's fantastic. I get that. I get it.
Yeah.
So thank you. It's been wonderful to learn more about you. It's been wonderful to learn about you, being around you over the last few days, if not like directly talking to you, even seeing how you, when the children walked through the first day, someone brought their kids here, how you made them feel so welcome. I saw that. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And we talk about leadership, making people feel welcome. That's what I see very clearly. So my question to you then is your legacy. What legacy would you like to leave behind from your family funeral service point of view, AFDA, and you as a person? What legacy would you like to leave?
I think when I came in as president, I had two words that were going to, or I guess be my guiding light or my touchstones, and that's connection and community. To me, that's everything. It's in everything we do.
Wow.
And I think if people, when they think of me, think what great connections and what a great community we've got, that we, built on that, I'd be absolutely, just absolutely wrapped, because that's so important to me. It's everything.
Fantastic. Thank you. It's what a wonderful and beautiful way to end the podcast. And thank you again so much for your time.
Oh, thanks, John.
And well done. It's been an amazing conference, and I'm looking forward to the final few days now. So thanks so much.
Well, absolute pleasure. And I look forward to coming to the UK to one of yours soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, John.
Thanks so much.